In the first scene, we see a woman emerging from a grave. The police are already there. But as the woman climbs out, a hand reaches for her from the grave. Charlotte returned home, where she was greeted by her husband, Tom, with the flash of a camera. The woman was tired of household chores and the noisy city, so she did not share in the husband's cheerfulness. During dinner, Tom suggested they resume their efforts to have a child. Fear reflected on Charlotte's face. But she didn't have time to respond, as Tom was distracted by a call from his mother. When Tom returned, Charlotte suggested ending their relationship. She didn't need anything from him. She had no strength left to continue living with him. Tom was furious. He didn't want to believe that their relationship was over, and suggested they postpone the conversation until the next day. The next morning, Charlotte didn't wait for the conversation. She simply packed her things and decided to leave. It seemed that everyone around was watching her, following her. She dialed Ewan's number, the man she had been seeing for some time, but reached his voicemail. Charlotte went to the house where Ewan lived. A strange woman opened the door. Not only did she not know any Ewan, but she also claimed to have been living here for several years. The feeling of being watched didn't leave Charlotte. Suddenly Tom arrived to pick her up. Charlotte silently got into the car. At home, Tom asked Charlotte how she met Ewan. But he didn't ask out of mere curiosity. Tom had already done some research and showed Charlotte that she had fallen for a scammer. Tom was sorry distancing himself from Charlotte lately. He promised to change that. In the end, they decided to forgive each other. Every morning, Tom left a small list of tasks for Charlotte. She wanted to start working on the latest tasks, but memories of Ewan kept haunting her. She remembered how on their last date Ewan had once again suggested they run away together, and for the first time she agreed. But things turned out the way they did. He didn't show up. Charlotte snapped back to reality. In the city, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. Today she was supposed to have lunch with Tom's mother, Isadora. The woman didn't pretend to be unaware of Charlotte's recent attempt to run away with her lover. Isadora asked what Charlotte had lacked with Tom. But Charlotte wasn't up for that conversation. She seemed to see Ewan in every man she passed. And she wasn't feeling well. Suddenly Charlotte vomited. The women exchanged significant glances. Charlotte left the meeting. She was feeling worse. The memories of Ewan kept flashing before her eyes. The girl couldn't take it and burst into tears. Then she called Ewan and left a message on his voicemail, asking him to stay away from her. It seemed to make her feel a little better. Charlotte decided to visit Tom at work and told him that his mother had suggested they visit their estate for the weekend. Charlotte really wanted to go because she felt like someone was stalking her. Tom admitted that he had been monitoring her after her affair. He apologized and promised to come home early so they could discuss the trip to the estate over dinner. While strolling through the estate's garden, Tom and Charlotte were chatting about various things when their conversation was suddenly interrupted by gunshots. Tom explained that hunting season had begun, and he had allowed the butler Stefan to hunt. At dinner, Charlotte looked stunning, and Tom immediately noticed. But the main event of the evening was supposed to be Charlotte's gift, a positive pregnancy test. Tom was overjoyed. But he had to ask who the father of the baby was. Charlotte calmly suggested a paternity test. It seemed like everything was as good as it used to be. That evening, Charlotte felt unwell and fainted. Tom helped his beloved, and soon she fell asleep. The woman dreamed that Ewan asked her where she had been. When Charlotte woke up, the first thing she did was grab her laptop and search for information about Ewan. She looked him up by last name, first name, and just by his photo. And on one of the websites, she saw his photo but under a different name. His sister was searching for him. Awakened Tom interrupted Charlotte's internet search. At breakfast, from a conversation between Tom and the housekeeper, Charlotte learned that someone had recently attempted to rob the estate. But Tom didn't want to go into details. Charlotte was eager to continue her search for Ewan, especially now that she had a lead. But being alone wasn't so easy, especially after her recent fainting spell. Even when she went for a walk in the garden, Stefan accompanied her. The woman pretended to feel unwell and asked Stefan to fetch some water. As soon as he walked away, Charlotte immediately called the number listed in the missing person notice for Ewan. His sister answered. Charlotte suggested they meet. Rebecca, Ewan's sister, mentioned that he had run into trouble because of money. She also speculated that Charlotte might be being stalked by those who wanted to find Ewan. Charlotte mentioned that a woman had been in the house where Ewan had lived. Rebecca suggested they go there, but Charlotte couldn't be away for that long. At dinner, Tom asked why she had ignored his call. Charlotte tried to lie, but Tom knew exactly where she had been. Another argument ensued, followed by a passionate reconciliation. Charlotte decided to meet Rebecca again and left her phone at home so Tom couldn't track her. But suddenly Tom came home, as he had the day off, and they were all going to a party that evening. To top it off, Isadora had arrived. Leaving the house wasn't easy, But Charlotte found an excuse and left her phone in the car with the chauffeur. She and Rebecca headed to the last place Ewan was seen. Once again the woman sent them away. The girls were contemplating their next move when Charlotte suddenly recognized one of her pursuers among the passers-by. The women quickly hid around the corner of a building. The man entered the same house, and he was let in as though he were an old friend. The girls eavesdropped on the conversation, during which it became clear that the woman living in Ewan's house had only recently arrived here. The two entered the house. Rebecca and Charlotte also sneaked in and listened intently. The stranger asked the visitor what trouble he had gotten into this time. She mentioned Rebecca and Charlotte and how they were searching for some missing guy. The man became anxious and began shredding some photographs. From their conversation, it was revealed that all of Charlotte and Ewan's meetings had been secretly photographed and the pictures were sold. The man had also been deceived and not paid, but he had taken something from those he gave the photos to. The man rushed off to get the keys to the safe. As soon as he left, Rebecca and Charlotte emerged from their hiding spot and asked the woman for help again. This time she didn't refuse. The first thing they did was open the safe and find a necklace made of precious stones. Charlotte recognized it as Tom's mother Isadora's necklace. There was a knock at the door. The woman assumed the photographer had forgotten his keys. She went downstairs to open the door, but it wasn't him. Someone in a black suit and mask took the woman's life right before Rebecca and Charlotte's eyes as they hid under the bed. The assailant took Isadora's necklace from the victim's hand and left. Charlotte grabbed the shredded photos. She realized that Isadora had set her up. Ewan had been paid to be with her. But Rebecca couldn't believe that Ewan would do such a thing. He had probably perished protecting his loved ones. Charlotte texted the driver from Rebecca's phone to come and pick her up. The driver could see that Charlotte was distressed. He bought a dress and everything necessary for the upcoming party to help her hide the real reason for her absence. Charlotte arrived just in time. She wanted to talk to Tom about what had happened, but Isadora was among the guests. It was unbearable for Charlotte to be near her mother-in-law, so she ran to the bathroom, but Isadora followed her. The woman noticed specks of blood on Charlotte. The girl asked Isadora if she had arranged the surveillance and paid Ewan to deceive her. In the end the girl couldn't take it and fainted. She dreamt of Ewan again, this time pleading for help. Charlotte woke up in her bed. She called Tom but he didn't answer. Rebecca called and asked to meet. Meanwhile, Isadora arrived at the estate. She was searching for something in the house, but when someone tried the door handle, she hid in the wardrobe. The person locked the room from the inside. It was Tom. Rebecca showed Charlotte that she managed to restore some of the photos. Surveillance of Charlotte and Ewan had been going on for a long time. The girls continued to piece together the photos. From the pictures, it became clear that the photographer had been inside the apartment at the time of the shots. Tom took a box from the wardrobe and began examining something. Isadora emerged from her hiding place and demanded to know what her son was doing. Tom laughed, revealing that he had known all along that his mother was hiding here. Isadora grabbed the photos that showed her and her lover. It turned out that Tom had been photographing his mother all this time. During their conversation, it became clear that her husband hadn't perished in an accident but at the hands of the son. Tom grabbed his mother, and the elderly woman felt sick. Rebecca told Charlotte that she couldn't see her anymore because Ewan had perished because of her. Charlotte had a husband and family, while Rebecca had no one left, and it was all Charlotte's fault. Tom called Charlotte and asked her to come to the hospital. Isadora had suffered an aneurysm. After Isadora's funeral, her will was announced. It stated that the business and estate belonged to Tom, but everything else was left to Charlotte. This shocked everyone present. Tom was completely opposed to his mother's will. Charlotte slipped out of the office. She couldn't understand what was happening and decided to call Rebecca to discuss her suspicions. Charlotte felt there was a discrepancy in the version of events she and Rebecca had pieced together. Tom argued with the housekeeper. He believed she knew the reason behind Isadora's decision, but the woman denied everything. Tom was furious. The man searched through all his mother's belongings. Charlotte tried to calm him down but received a slap in the face. Tom broke down in tears and confessed that it had been unbearable living in that house and following all of his mother's orders. But after the slap, Charlotte decided to leave. In the morning, Tom tried to make amends. He made breakfast, took a leave from work and apologized. Charlotte decided to give him a chance. They went for a walk, and Tom talked about his vision for their family's future. At dinner, Tom gave Charlotte a gift. It was Isadora's necklace. Suddenly everything became clear. Charlotte was gripped by terror. She pretended to feel unwell, and when Tom went to get her some water, the girl wanted to escape, but Tom reacted instantly. Charlotte pretended she was about to vomit and hid in the bathroom. She tried not to arouse her husband's suspicions. In the bathroom, the girl frantically thought about what to do next. Charlotte decided to ask Tom to buy crackers to ease her nausea. He fell for it, and as soon as the front door closed, Charlotte called the butler to come as quickly as possible. She also told Rebecca that Tom was behind everything. Rebecca advised her to leave the estate immediately, promising to call the police, but Charlotte wanted to find real evidence against Tom. She searched his laptop but found nothing, so she began looking for the photos. First she needed to find the key to the darkroom. There, she saw who had been following her all this time, dozens of photos of Ewan and herself, and vials of oxycodone. Suddenly the light turned red. Tom had returned. Charlotte didn't pretend she knew nothing and demanded an explanation. Tom replied that he had given her everything, but when he planted another man in her life, she couldn't resist and fell in love with him. Charlotte confessed that she had witnessed the crime Tom committed. She speculated that Tom had also taken Ewan's life. He then revealed the true version of events. One day Ewan came to Tom in the darkroom and said that things hadn't gone according to plan. He had fallen in love with Charlotte. But that wasn't what Tom had paid him for. Ewan told Tom that he didn't deserve a woman like Charlotte, so Ewan was going to tell her everything and hope that she could forgive him. He had come to settle things fairly. But Tom believed that no one had the right to take his wife from him, as she belonged to him alone. A fight broke out, and Tom emerged victorious. Now Charlotte wanted to leave, but Tom knocked her out. She woke up lying in a grave. Tom said that he had tried his best, but no one seemed to care. Charlotte responded that Ewan was better than Tom and that she would have happily lived with him on the streets because then she would have had freedom. Hearing this, Tom slowly descended into the grave with the intent to end her life, but Charlotte quickly reacted and knocked him out. Exhausted, she climbed out of the grave. Tom stayed there. Blue police sirens illuminated her face. Charlotte didn't know that behind her, Tom had not only regained consciousness but had already climbed out of the grave, intending to finish what he had started. Suddenly a gunshot rang out. The butler Stefan had saved Charlotte. Tom collapsed to the ground. The police then led both Stefan and Charlotte away. Waking up to the chirping of birds on a sunny morning, Charlotte's first act was to wish her baby a good morning. She had a lot to do that day, moving all her belongings from the estate, discarding unnecessary items and sorting through Tom's documents. Among the papers, Charlotte found a folder with her name on it. Inside was a receipt for the surveillance service on her, as well as a check for the payment of the medical treatment for the housekeeper Isadora's sister. Charlotte decided to visit the woman and talk to her. The woman revealed that she knew the secret of Tom's family. When Tom was a little boy, he had taken the life of his mother's lover. The woman also revealed another secret. Some time ago, Tom had ordered the housekeeper to dispose of the barely alive man, presenting him as a burglar. But against his orders, the woman had nursed him. Charlotte couldn't believe that she was seeing Ewan, that she could touch him, that she could love him again. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.